Happening now, we're hearing from officials with the National Comedy Center about scrutiny over a voting site change. Plus, the latest in the COVID-19 pandemic, how new variants could be stopping some potential positive trends.
Well, we've had some snow showers last night and this morning. They're starting to taper off now, but some bitter cold is on the way. We'll talk about it next. The news at noon starts right now.
Live and on demand, this is WNY News Now.
And thanks for joining us for WNY News Now. I'm Justin Gould. We start with the COVID-19 pandemic and the latest update from health officials just minutes ago. 2 deaths connected to COVID-19 and 18 new cases of the virus reported in Chautauqua County today, the lowest number of new cases in recent history. Here's a look at the updated COVID-19 dashboard. The deaths, according to health officials, involve a person in their 50s and a person above the age of 90. There are now 245 cases active, that down from 283 yesterday. Of the active cases, 28 people are hospitalized, that number up just slightly from 25 the day before. The 7-day average percent positivity rate is also going down from 5.5% to 5.2%. The number of those vaccinated going up from 8,000 to around 9,000, making just over 7% of the county's total population. To date, there have been nearly 9,000 cases of the virus here in Chautauqua County, with 6,700 of those recovering and 127 related deaths. Now, despite a dip in new U.S. COVID-19 cases, the U.S. has yet to control this pandemic, and new data is suggesting the virus variants could reverse some positive COVID trends. Our Mandy Gaither speaking with health experts for more.
This is a national emergency, and the approach we are taking reflects this.
As the number of new daily COVID cases across the U.S. is trending down, officials are urging Americans to keep their guards up.
The continued proliferation of variants remains of great concern and is a threat that could reverse the recent positive trends we are seeing.
The latest U.S. data shows mutations of the virus are spreading. Nearly 700 variant cases in at least 33 states, most of them the variant first identified in the UK. But officials are certain there are more out there that have yet to be identified.
Over the last 3 weeks or so, we've increased our sequencing about tenfold. So as we look more, we're certainly anticipate we might find more.
Health experts say the 2 vaccines currently authorized in the U.S. are effective against that variant, and the best defenses against further virus mutations is to get as many people vaccinated as quickly as possible and continue public health measures, wear a mask, stay 6 feet away from others, and wash your hands.
I recognize that the pandemic has taken an enormous toll on all of us. But if we all work together and take these prevention steps, we can finally turn the tide.
I'm Mandy Gaither.
Mandy, thank you. Health experts also continue to urge Americans not only get the COVID-19 vaccine when it's available, but to also get the second dose of the same vaccine on time. A Warren, Pennsylvania man is facing charges after allegedly giving a 2-month-old girl Suboxone last week. The Warren Police Department arrested 37-year-old Brandon Quattrone on Friday. Officers allege Quattrone gave the girl the dose because she was suffering from Suboxone withdrawals. The child, police say, first had contact with the drug through her mother's breastfeeding. The mother, identified as Bridget Putman, is now also facing charges. It's not clear if the child remains with her mom or what her current condition is. Officials with the National Comedy Center are addressing concerns that they are not welcoming to all Jamestown residents amid scrutiny over a voting site change. Comedy Center Executive Director Journey Gunderson refuted the notion during last night's City Council meeting, speaking for nearly an hour at the work session. She is debunking notions that the center isn't inclusive to all, especially as the future of the Ward 3 polling site remains unknown, saying there is issues surrounding their liquor license and hosting the polling place.
Once we're told from the State Board of Elections that we're prohibited from hosting based on a state statute, it's incumbent upon us to not just rely on hearsay that it's okay to do so as long as the liquor's in another room or as long as you don't serve on that day. Fine, and we are happy to explore returning to being the host of the polling location as soon as someone from the State Board of Elections can provide an official statement that that's legal. But again, we're hopeful for a positive outcome on this front, and we have specifically asked if those accommodations could be made if we didn't serve alcohol on that day.
Gunderson explains that the organization provides a variety of free and discounted events throughout the year in an effort to attract those who may have difficulty affording a general admittance. Her comments came after the Chautauqua County Board of Elections informed the council that the Comedy Center told them that they would no longer rent space for the polling site. Gunderson, however, says the Comedy Center is still interested in hosting the site after they receive some of the clarity on the matter. Certainly we'll continue to follow that. Thank you for joining us for WNY News Now as we get a check of local headlines that matter to you. And we want to know what you have to say about these stories and more in the comments down below. Or simply just say hi. We always love interacting with you. It's great to see Lester. Good to see Helen, Butch, Jeremy, Nicole, and Jim as well. Hopefully you're all having a good Tuesday. Thanks for joining us. Great to see Joseph, Connie, Kurt, and John too. Well, now let's get a check of our first defense weather forecast. That's where we find Chief Forecaster Dakota Hunter. And Dakota, it certainly was a pretty chilly and snowy start. It's almost like a Groundhog Day the last couple of days. We wake up with a little more snow and a little more cold.
Don't mention that little rodent. No. We don't know. We don't mention that in the weather office. No, we don't. But yeah, this is a live look over the Chautauqua Institution. The snow was pretty much stopped across much of the area, but we still could see a few snow showers later this afternoon. Here's the radar on a 5-hour time lapse, and this is that quick hitting burst of snow that basically shot through the area this morning. Actually, as a matter of fact, we actually had some light snow falling as I was walking out my door this morning to get here. So that's all pretty much ended now, but we still could see a few scattered snow showers later in the day, and yeah, much of the area is pretty much dry as of now. So these are the snowfall totals from what we picked up last night through this morning. 2.4 inches in Gary, 2.3 Kennedy, 2 inches Falconer, also Jamestown, Little Valley, 1.8 Mayville, and 1 inch in Silver Creek. So not a whole lot of snow, but it was a little bit to freshen up the snowpacks. 21 was the high yesterday. We started the day at 17, 62, and 25 below zero are the record highs and lows set at this date at the Jamestown Airport. So through the afternoon, just lots of clouds. Scattered snow showers will be a possibility through the afternoon, about 1 inch of additional accumulation. Yeah, no big deal there, but rather cold, 22 to 27, but at least the winds not too bad. But we are keeping our eyes on more Arctic air for the weekend and next week, plus debates on a storm system for Sunday. We'll talk about what we know in a few. Justin?
Certainly, you're always going to keep us updated, Dakota. Thank you. Well, new legislation aiming to address housing discrimination across the state is underway. The legislative package would implement fair housing practices, bias training, and relief to victims of housing discrimination, as well as create an anti-discrimination housing fund and increase other required training. Well, the bills were created following 2 public hearings and an investigation into a report on fair housing discrimination around the state. The package, officially announced to the public yesterday, also includes oversight for real estate brokers as well. Well, staying in Albany, legislation that aims to promote better attention to long-term care facilities across New York is moving forward in the wake of the State Attorney General's report finding many nursing homes did not comply with infectious control procedures, putting residents at risk. New York State Capitol correspondent Karina Campabianca tracking the progress for us from Albany.
Several bills to make long-term care facilities safer are expected to head through committee this week. Senator Rachel May, who chairs the Committee on Aging, says a big issue remains visitation.
There's evidence that people have died just because they didn't have family members coming in paying attention to whether they were eating or whether they were, taking care of themselves in the most basic ways, or if the staff had been aware of an infection.
May is sponsoring legislation that would allow residents to designate someone for personal care visitation, and it would expand compassionate care visits.
We really need people to be able to get back into nursing homes and see their loved ones. And so this has been a long time in process, but I'm really excited that it's coming up in committee this week and hopeful that we'll vote on it next week.
She also has a bill to reform the long-term care ombudsman program and another that has already passed in the Senate to reimagine the long-term care task force.
We're going to pass a number of bills through committee this week that have to do with oversight of nursing homes, with transparency, communication with residents and their families about what's been going on in nursing homes, infection control, PPE, just the whole gamut.
While Republicans have called on May to issue the Department of Health a subpoena over the nursing home deaths, she says,
the subpoena issue I do think is kind of moot at this point.
She notes one of the bills lawmakers are expecting to pass tomorrow through the Health Committee requires the reporting of nursing home resident deaths even if they died at a hospital, and that would be retroactive to March of last year. In Albany, Karina Capabianca.
Karina, thank you. There remain several efforts to hold the state accountable for COVID deaths in nursing homes, including the continued call for a federal investigation. Next, here a lot more to tell you about the push to revitalize arts and music amid this pandemic. And later, hear the story behind a heartwarming visit from two police officers and their K9 partner at our local school recently. Stay with us as WNY News Now continues on this Tuesday.
With coverage that matters, this is WNY News Now.
Honest John says what you're looking for. When you want it good, we're gonna give you lots more.
From freshly made subs to the best of pizza and wings, Honest John's has what you're looking for. And now two great locations, East 2nd Street and Fairmount Avenue. Order takeout or delivery today, online at honestjohns.pizza.
You're gonna get it good at Honest John's.
EagleZip.com is your local one-stop shop for all of your home and business computer needs. Located on Fluvanna Avenue Extension, just outside of Jamestown, EagleZip.com sells and services all brands of desktops and laptops, as well as servers and network equipment for your business. All new computer sales include transferring your data from your old computer plus a 2-year warranty. Call EagleZip.com today.
Stop by EagleZip.com today and let us make computers easy for you.
Remember when you were a kid, huddled around the television waiting for your school to close? Well, we don't get snow days. When winter weather hits, count on the First Defense Weather Team for a look into the future where the snow is headed next. Live radar showing you the scope of the storm. And real-time reports from the field. So when it matters most, stay with First Defense Weather.
Catch your First Defense forecast daily on WNY News Now. You're watching WNY News Now, your source for breaking news.
And welcome back to WNY News Now. New York has launched a new initiative to bring arts and entertainment back to the state. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo announced the New York Pops Up initiative yesterday. He says the first of its kind initiative will accelerate the restoration of cultural, arts, and creative energy. It all starts February 20th, with more than 300 events will pop up across the state in the next 100 days.
We're trying to thread the needle. We want the performances. We don't want mass gatherings. We don't want large crowds. So pop-up performances that will surprise people and bring the arts back. It will engage the acting and artist community that is very excited about this.
The governor says the pop-up style events aim to limit crowds, giving the opportunity for some to attend in person, with others online. No details were given about possible events here in Western New York. Well, the interim New York Education Commissioner, Betsy Rosas, was given the job permanently yesterday, part of a unanimous vote by the policy-setting Board of Regents. Rosas has been interim commissioner since August. The state's education department has been without a permanent chief since Mary Ellen Issa stepped down in 2019. She is the first Latina woman to serve in the position. The commissioner oversees more than 700 school districts with 2.6 million students, as well as 7,000 libraries, 900 museums, and more than 50 licensed professions. She began her career more than 30 years ago as a bilingual professor and reading coordinator in New York City. Rosas became chancellor of the Board of Regents in March 2016 during her second 5-year term and led the board until becoming interim commissioner. Well, Senate leaders have reached a deal on how they will secure former President Trump's impeachment trial. And a vote this afternoon will begin the historic proceedings. Karen Kafa in Washington with the very latest on the process.
This will be a day of a lot of pre-trial activity for the Senate. They will approve the rules of the trial, and they will also hear 4 hours of debate on whether the trial should move forward at all. The Trump defense team making a narrow constitutional argument that since Trump is no longer in office, it shouldn't move forward. Well, that is unlikely to gain the support of a majority of senators, and so they will move in the direction of hearing the second impeachment trial against President Trump, something that is historic.
All parties have agreed to a structure that will ensure a fair and honest Senate impeachment trial of the former president.
With an agreement on the rules, the Senate is set to begin its second impeachment trial of former President Donald Trump.
It preserves due process and the rights of both sides.
Under the deal, House impeachment managers and the Trump defense team will each receive 16 hours to make their case around the charge of incitement of insurrection as a result of the riot at the Capitol on January 6th. House managers can also call for a vote on witnesses if they choose. In a filing Monday, Trump's defense team described the trial as unconstitutional now that their client has left office and sought to distance his behavior from the insurrection, saying in part, "The real truth is that the people who criminally breached the Capitol did so of their own accord and for their own reasons, and they are being criminally prosecuted." House impeachment managers seeking to draw a direct line between Trump's rhetoric on January 6th and the violence that ensued.
We fight like hell.
That argument already playing out in the court cases of those charged in the riots.
These directives were coming and the crowds were doing what they were told.
Democrats calling for accountability.
You can't have a president who, just because he clearly loses an election, decides he's going to mess around with our democracy and literally attack a co-equal branch of government.
And with the events of January 6th front and center in this trial, there is extra added security around the Capitol as the trial begins. There is, of course, that fence that remains around the Capitol complex, as well as a number of National Guard troops. Just as a precaution, federal law enforcement officials say they have heard of no specific credible threat against the Capitol during this trial. In Washington, I'm Karen Kifa.
Karen, thank you. President Joe Biden has been quite quiet. Former President Donald Trump's second impeachment trial, refusing to comment on the proceedings. Instead, he's working to push a massive COVID relief bill. The final package is still weeks away, but the White House wants to make sure it's done by March 14th, which is the current federal supplement unemployment benefits expiration date. Well, carry out, delivery, or dine in, that decision is up to you on this National Pizza Day. For centuries, pizza was a primary dish enjoyed in Italy. In the early 20th centuries, the first American-style pizza shops popped up in New York and New Jersey, selling what was called tomato pies. But pizza truly became part of American culture after World War II, as U.S. soldiers stationed in Italy developed quite the taste for it. So just how popular is pizza? Well, according to the National Association of Pizza Operators, about 3 billion pizzas are sold in the U.S. each year. And the American pizza community says there are 34 million different ways to order a pie, depending on your size, cheese, crust, sauce, and toppings. Well, let us know what you think about this delicious holiday in the comments down below. I know, Dakota, we're both big pizza lovers. Anytime we can't get our hands on it, we try to. And pre-COVID, we usually had pizza in the newsroom a couple of times. We have in the last couple of weeks, very much everybody gets their own slice and less hands in the pie, so to speak. But nevertheless, happy Pizza Day. Hopefully everyone is enjoying themselves out there. Maybe they'll get a little taste of pizza or even homemade pizza. That's really good too. And you can, slice it up pretty much any different way.
But there's only 2 rules.
Yeah.
And that is, well, there's technically 2 rules. You can put anything on a pizza except pineapples and anchovies.
I could agree with that. Pineapple isn't horrible, but not my favorite. Anchovies, definite no.
I mean,
Definite
pineapples, I don't like them anyway, but they don't belong on a pizza.
I agree with you. Yeah, I like pineapple aside. I mean, I'll eat it on a pizza, but I think my favorite is really just classic cheese and pepperoni. Can't do wrong. Can't do wrong. Good to see Renee. Good afternoon to Deb, Jennifer. Good to see Michael and Brittany as well. Let us know what you guys think about this and more in the comments down below. Let's now turn to that full weather forecast. And Dakota, I know you got a pretty awesome looking picture coming from northern Chautauqua County to talk about.
Yes, we do. Let's take a look at the graphics. And this actually gained a lot of traction on social media. This is an ice angel that formed at Barcelona Harbor. And this actually was not man-made. This was a natural occurring event. And our news department reached out to the Village this morning, and they said that this picture was taken by Bill Christ, who was the former mayor of Westfield. And what happened is basically as the waves come ashore from Lake Erie, it can often create these little ice dunes right here. And with the wind over the weekend, it actually created what looked like an angel. They had it all written out for me right here because my small mind can't remember things. But you can see that that's a beautiful picture. And they're not sure if it's still there because this was taken on Saturday. But man, this was a beautiful shot. And I mean, it just goes to show you how Mother Nature can be beautiful sometimes.
Incredible.
Yes, it is. Wow. That is an absolutely incredible picture. And of course, I got to thanks to our news team for obviously sending out that call and getting some information on that. So talking about the ice on Lake Erie, this is the current ice concentration on Lake Erie, and it's actually iced up a bit here. Now, just a few weeks ago, there wasn't really any ice on the lake, but with all this Arctic air that has surged across the lake, it's really iced it up. It's almost half frozen right now. 49.5 is the current ice concentration. And of course, Lake Ontario never freezes. There is an old wives' tale that it did freeze back in the 1800s, but there's no record of that anywhere. So it still stands like Ontario has never frozen. 23 degrees right now at the Jamestown Airport. As a noon hour, a light north wind of 5, but it still brings the wind chill down to 17, and it's going to be chilly through the day today and especially tomorrow. The radar is clear, the sweep is nice and dry, but that quick hitting snow that basically came through this morning is now pushed off to the east. This is actually a quick moving storm system that passed to our south, so we likely had it, so that's the reason we had a little bit of those snow showers. But yeah, we'll see some more snow showers likely this afternoon and into tonight. Future scan really isn't being too impressed with it, but it does show you a few of these little snow showers later this afternoon and into tonight. And again, the best chance for the snow, or should I say the heavier amounts of the snow used figuratively, is going to be up on the hills. That's where you could see maybe upwards of 2 inches. And then it turns mainly dry tomorrow, but the clouds really are going to be socked in through the day tomorrow. So additional snowfall through tomorrow. Yeah, well, you're looking at about an inch or two. You could see upwards of 2 inches in some of the higher hills, but less than an inch across basically a lower elevations. Now, looking down the road here, is there any sign of the warmth of the cold air ending? Well, no. That's the simple answer. This is the 6 to 10 day temp outlook, and yeah, you can see it's basically just going to be cold, cold, cold as we go throughout the middle of the month. Not that unusual for February. So inland areas today, this is likely where we're going to top out. Mid to upper 20s today, a few snowflakes, but all in all, not bad, but it will be chilly. Now, the next 7 days of your life. Coming up right now, brought to you by 42 Degrees and Sunny. 20 tomorrow, shivering cold. 23 on Thursday. Should be mainly dry, maybe a few peaks of sun. Upper teens on Friday, that'll do it. And we're watching our eyes on the weekend. Sunday, if a storm system moves directly over us, it'll be rain. If not, it'll be snow. So we're going 16 at this point right now with a few snow showers, and the cold air is going to continue into next week. We'll take a break and be right back. First Defense Weather is sponsored by 42 Degrees and Sunny, smoking deals on smoking accessories. Learn more at 42degreesandsunny.com. That's 42degreesandsunny.com.
You're watching WNY News Now, where coverage comes first.
I'm a survivor. I'm a survivor. I'm a survivor.
Testicular cancer is the leading form of cancer in men aged 15 to 35.
1 in 250 men will be diagnosed with testicular cancer.
But 98% will survive if detected early.
As a survivor, I believe early detection is the key. Learn how to do a testicular self-exam and other important facts about testicular cancer at oneball4tc.com.
There's an old saying, there's no news in the newsroom. Well, it's true. The time I spend at the anchor desk is just part of my day. Most of our time is spent gathering stories in the community, stories that matter to you. We can't do it alone, and we need your help. When you see breaking news or have a news tip we should know about, drop us a line on Facebook today, email our news desk, or call our newsroom at 488-7226 so we can bring those stories straight back to you.
You're watching WNY News Now, your source for breaking news.
And welcome back to WNY News Now. Finally here today, Jamestown's newest Police K9 is getting to know the public school community by visiting students around the district. Most recently, the pitter-patter of puppy paws echoed the halls of Love Elementary School. Jamestown Police's 9-week-old yellow Labrador Retriever, Hope, serves as the department's comfort dog, assisting victims of trauma or domestic violence. Her partner, Domestic Violence Officer Emma Ward, has joined forces with Community Resource Officer Matthew Reinhardt to give Hope some experience with interacting with community members. By bringing her into schools, Officer Ward wants her to be comfortable around kids and at the same time teaching students the proper way to pet and approach dogs. Both the officers talked to the classrooms about what Hope's job entails and gave students a chance to feel some puppy love, too. The school's principal says the visit was beneficial in many ways, allowing the students a chance to meet the canine and see the city's law enforcement in a different light. Certainly great to see, and what a cute dog. If you needed some cuteness today, hopefully that warms you up. We thank you for joining us for WNY News Now as we get a check of some local headlines on this pretty cold Tuesday afternoon. I love Hope, Dakota. I think she's absolutely incredible. And our intern, actually, Hope Winter, was the first one to do a feature story.
How ironic.
Talking to her, and giving a little bit of hope, I think, to people. And it's nice just to kind of take a moment to take a break from the world. And petting a dog really lowers your stress level. I've seen it firsthand. There would be days where I would be really stressed out, and unfortunately I can't have furry friends at my apartment, but I go over to my mom's or over to my girlfriend's parents' house. They have a cute wiener dog, Oliver. You pet him for 5 minutes, life is good.
Well, I think I mentioned it on the show before that, the Golden Girls has an episode for everything.
Yeah.
And there was an episode where Rose got a dog. And unfortunately, she took the dog to work because she worked at a hospital. Yeah. And the dog kind of became sort of like, the patient sort of dog.
Visited people, warmed them up.
And there was one woman, a elderly woman, she was ultimately dying, and she brought the dog in, and it lifted her spirits, and she was the happiest she had been ever since she gotten sick.
Wow.
And I mean, it was absolutely great. And so it just goes to show you how that episode aired in the late 80s, and here we are in 2021. So the Golden Girls was way ahead of their time.
Relevant. And you think about that's who needs it the most is these hospital workers. Now we talk about that the nurses were honored at the Super Bowl over the weekend. Totally, definitely need that. And it's great to see police utilizing such an amazing tool. And you know, people might think, well, why do they need a dog like that? Well, a million reasons. Because a lot of the time, some of these issues we have, it all comes back down to mental health, and I think people just taking a pause and looking beyond the scope of the situation they're in. So it's really incredible. Great work by JPD, and we hope to see more of that furry friend out there. Well, that's going to do it for us today. We'll leave you with this live look over downtown Jamestown. News continues 24/7 at WNYNewsNow.com and on our mobile app. You can download it today in the Apple App Store and Google Play Store. Dakota and I are back tomorrow. We hope to see you then, friends.